The stars burned red above Carith Prime, the capital world of the Valari Dominion. Once the planet had been beautiful, filled with shining towers, floating gardens, and silver blue skies. But now those skies were filled with fire. War had come again. From her throne aboard the great flagship Empyrean, Queen Solara Valari watched the chaos unfold through the massive view window. Her golden eyes glowed softly, and her long silver crown shimmered under the light of explosions. She was calm, proud, and unshaken. For 200 years the Valari had ruled half the galaxy. Their fleets were unmatched, their soldiers loyal, and their technology older than human civilization itself. But that morning, something unusual had happened. The humans had returned. A small human fleet had entered the Carith system. Only 5 ships against her thousands. The Dominion officers had laughed at first. Primitive Terrans, they said. Their small ships will break like glass before the Empyrean's guns. But the humans didn't attack head-on. Instead, they moved in strange, unpredictable patterns. They vanished from sensors and appeared again behind Valari ships. They used the planet's magnetic field and the debris from old battles to hide their movements. Solara frowned as she watched her fleet's tactical display flicker with confusion. Dozens of red dots, her ships were disappearing. Each one was a battleship, a fortress of fire and armor, yet they were dying silently one after another. Who commands the human ships? She asked, her voice calm but sharp. Unknown, my queen, her advisor replied. Our sensors intercepted a name, Commander Adrian Holt. Solara raised an eyebrow. One commander? A single man? Yes, Majesty. He commands the lead vessel. The humans call it the UNS Resolute. Solara leaned back in her throne, her golden cape folding neatly around her. She had faced countless enemies across the stars, rebels, pirates, rival empires. But never had she heard of a human commander bold enough to attack her home system. Destroy him, she ordered coldly. I want this. Holt to learn what happens to those who challenge the Dominion. Her admirals bowed and moved to obey. The Valari fleet formed tight formations around the human ships. The trap was perfect, or so they thought. Moments later, the view window flashed white. One of the Valari cruisers exploded, torn apart by invisible fire. Then another, and another. What is happening? Shouted Admiral Corrin, his voice trembling. They are inside our perimeter. Impossible, Solara said sharply. No ship can move that fast through our shields. But the humans were moving fast. They used short-range jump drives, technology the Valari thought too unstable for combat. The humans had somehow perfected it. Their ships blinked in and out of real space like phantoms. Inside the UNS Resolute, Commander Adrian Holt stood at the center of the bridge, his uniform dark and unmarked. His face was calm, his tone steady. Target lead destroyer group. Fire pattern Omega-7. No waste. No mercy. The crew obeyed without question. Plasma torpedoes streaked through the void, guided by invisible drones. Each shot hit a vital point. Holt didn't smile, didn't speak of victory. He simply watched and adjusted. He was a man who had seen too much war to enjoy it. Back on the Empyrean, Queen Solara clenched her hand around the armrest of her throne. Her fleet was being broken apart by only a few ships. It was unthinkable. Find me this Adrian Holt, she said. I want his record, his rank, his world of birth. I want to know everything. Her intelligence officer turned pale. Majesty, there are no records. His name appears in only a few old data streams. Many are redacted by human military command. Even the galactic archives have nothing. Solara narrowed her eyes. So the humans hide him. That means he is dangerous. Outside, the battle continued. Human ships weaved between the burning wrecks of Valari vessels, their engines glowing like comets. The Dominion had lost 40 ships in less than an hour. Admiral Corrin shouted, We must retreat, Majesty. The enemy is using gravity weapons. We can't track them. Solara rose from her throne. Her silver armor shimmered like liquid light. The Dominion does not retreat, she said firmly. Send the Royal Guard to intercept. I will not be defeated by ghosts. She walked to the view window. Her expression was unreadable. In her long reign, she had seen many warriors fall, but none had ever forced her to question her own fleet's strength. Meanwhile, Commander Holt stood quietly aboard the Resolute. His second-in-command, a young lieutenant, approached him. Sir, the Valari fleet is breaking apart. Orders? Hold position, Holt replied. His gray eyes reflected the burning light of Carith Prime. We've made our point. The lieutenant hesitated. Sir, shouldn't we finish them? No, Holt said softly. We're not here to destroy. We're here to remind them what we're capable of. He turned toward the star map. Send a message to all ships. Fall back to phase line Orion. Prepare for withdrawal. The human ships vanished as suddenly as they came, disappearing into the darkness of space. On the Volari flagship, silence filled the command deck. The humans were gone. The once proud armada of the Dominion drifted in ruins. Solara sat slowly back on her throne. Around her, the officers avoided her gaze. For the first time in many years, she felt something she had nearly forgotten. Doubt. Majesty, said her advisor carefully. Shall we pursue? Solara shook her head. No, let them go. They will return. And when they do, we will be ready, but deep down she wasn't certain. The name of the human commander echoed in her thoughts like a whisper. Adrian Holt. That night, reports flooded in from every sector. Volari ships had been ambushed along trade routes. Communications outposts had gone dark. Everywhere the humans appeared, they struck with precision and disappeared without trace. The Dominion had fought humans before, but never like this. Solara sat alone in her private chamber, the great city of Kareth Prime burning faintly below her window. She pored over data files, battle logs, and intercepted transmissions. The name appeared again and again, Commander Adrian Holt. Her fingers brushed the screen as if touching the name would reveal its secret. Who are you, human? She whispered. In the dark reaches of space, Holt stared at a holographic image of Kareth Prime. His ship floated silently among the wrecks of destroyed enemy vessels. Message received from Earth Command. The lieutenant said quietly. They want to know if the objective is complete. Holt nodded slowly. Tell them it's done. The Queen will remember. Then he turned off the hologram and stared into the endless stars. Somewhere out there was the Volari Queen, a ruler who believed she could never be defeated. But he had seen her fleet's weakness. He knew the truth that frightened even him. The Dominion could fall. He didn't want war. But he knew it was coming. And next time it wouldn't be 5 ships. It would be all of humanity. Back on Kareth Prime, Queen Solara could not sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the human fleet cutting through her armada like knives through silk. She could almost hear the voice of that unseen commander echoing in her mind. The humans had dared to attack the capital. They had escaped untouched. And they had left her with only one thing, a name that would not stop repeating inside her head. Adrian Holt. When morning came, Solara stood before her war council. Her voice was cold and steady. Find this man, she said. I want his world, his history, his bloodline. I want to know what kind of human dares to challenge a queen. Her council bowed and began their work. But none of them could shake the feeling that this time, their queen's order came not from anger, but from fear. Far away, aboard the UN's Resolute, Adrian Holt watched the stars and whispered quietly to himself, This isn't over. And in that silent promise, a legend began, one that would echo through every world of the Dominion. Days turned into weeks, but the silence over Kareth Prime never felt peaceful. The great Volari Dominion had survived many wars, yet this one was different. The humans had struck their pride, right in the heart of their empire. Inside the royal palace, Queen Solara Volari sat before a tall glass window that looked down on the recovering capital. The planet was healing, but the Queen's mind was not. She had ordered hundreds of reports, reviewed every piece of data, and summoned every spy in her service. But all answers led to one name, Commander Adrian Holt. It was strange. The humans had many famous leaders, but none as secretive as him. He left no trace in the archives, no history, no background. Some even claimed he did not exist, that he was a myth used by humans to spread fear. But Solara had seen the truth. She had seen what his fleet had done. She had heard his voice across the battle channel, calm, confident, and filled with quiet power. Now, she wanted to know everything. Her intelligence chief, Lord Varen, entered her chamber, carrying a glowing data crystal. He bowed deeply before speaking. My queen, we found fragments of old reports, mostly destroyed records from early conflicts with humanity. But this name, Adrian Holt, appears again and again, always in places where our fleet suffered unexpected losses. Solara turned sharply. Show me. The crystal projected images of old battles, Volari ships burning, colonies gone dark, and reports of mysterious human raids. Varen continued. Our agents gathered rumors from other alien governments, too. The Dravans call him the Ghost of Titan. The Arvani speak of a human tactician who ended their uprising with only a single fleet, and the Kothari Trade Guild swore his fleet appeared out of nothing, then vanished without trace. Selara frowned. Ghost stories. Perhaps, Varen said carefully. But the pattern is real. Wherever his name appears, the enemy surrenders or disappears. The queen walked slowly to the window, her silver robe gliding behind her. She stared at the stars beyond the planet's glowing shield. Why does this name bring such fear? She asked quietly. He is only human, Varen hesitated. My queen, the humans are not like us. They come from a death world, harsh and unforgiving. They adapt to everything. And this Holt, he seems to understand war in ways even our strategist cannot explain. Silara's gaze hardened. Find him. I want his face, his family, his origin. Whatever it takes, Varen bowed again. It will be done, Majesty. Across the galaxy, aboard the UNS Resolute, Commander Adrian Holt stood in the ship's war room. A holographic map of the Volari Dominion rotated slowly before him. The human fleet had moved deeper into enemy territory, cutting off supply lines and communication hubs. His officers waited for orders, but Holt stayed silent, lost in thought. Finally, he spoke. We've drawn their attention. The Queen herself is watching now. Lieutenant Mara, his second-in-command, frowned. You think she'll come for us? She will, Holt replied softly. A ruler like her doesn't let an insult go unanswered. Mara crossed her arms. You almost sound like you admire her. Holt gave a faint smile. She's strong, proud, dangerous, but she fights for her people. That makes her predictable. And predictability can be used. He looked around at his crew. We're not here to destroy her empire. We're here to end this war without burning 1,000 worlds. But she won't understand that yet. His voice dropped lower. She will soon. Meanwhile, back on Kareth Prime, Selara gathered her war council. Around the long obsidian table sat generals, scientists, and spies, all nervous under her steady gaze. One general spoke first. Majesty, we must strike back. The humans are raiding our borders. They're using stealth drives and wormhole jumps. Our fleets can't track them. Another added. Every system they hit falls silent. It's as if they vanish between realities. Selara listened quietly, then said, We cannot fight shadows. We must understand them. This human Holt, he is not fighting for territory. He is sending us a message. The room went silent. Her advisor frowned. A message, Majesty? Yes, she said. He wants us afraid. He wants us to doubt our power. He's attacking our pride, not our planets. The generals looked uneasy. They were soldiers of conquest, used to victory through strength, not cunning. But Selara understood strategy. She knew when an enemy's weapon was not fire, but fear. She stood, her long silver cloak flowing behind her. Send word to all sectors. Increase patrols, hide our supply lines, and keep our communication silent. We will lure him out. I want Holt alive. Far from Kareth Prime, the UNS Resolute entered a quiet region of space known as Sector 47 Beta, a border area between human colonies and Volari patrol routes. Holt's fleet needed rest and resupply. Inside the command center, Holt studied a transmission from Earth Command. It was short and direct. Proceed with Operation Glass Veil. Objective: force diplomatic negotiation with the Dominion. Avoid planetary damage. Target psychological pressure. Holt closed the message and sighed. They want peace through fear, he murmured. Lieutenant Mara tilted her head. And what do you want, sir? Holt looked distant. I want peace through understanding. But they won't listen until they see the truth. He turned to the star map. The Volari think we're monsters. Maybe it's time to show them we're human instead. But before they could continue, an alarm echoed through the bridge. Incoming signal, encrypted Dominion frequency. The crew froze. Holt gave a small nod. Open it. The screen flickered, revealing the face of Queen Selara herself. Her golden eyes glowed against the dark background of her throne room. Commander Holt, she said coldly. You dare invade my worlds and destroy my fleets. Do you not understand what you have done? Holt stood calmly. I understand perfectly, Your Majesty. You have declared war on an empire that has ruled the stars for centuries, she said. And for what? Revenge, pride? He shook his head. For survival. For the right to exist, her tone turned sharp. Humanity could have joined us. We offered alliance. You chose defiance. Alliance? Holt repeated quietly. You call it alliance when you demand our surrender? The Queen's eyes narrowed. You speak boldly for a soldier so small in the scale of the stars. And yet, Holt replied evenly, you're the one calling me. For a moment, the air between them seemed to freeze. Selara could see in his eyes something that disturbed her deeply. A calmness that didn't come from arrogance but from certainty. Who are you, really? She asked softly. No records exist of your birth or rank. My spies tell me even your own people hide your name. Are you man or myth? Holt gave a faint, tired smile. Just a man who's seen what war does. Then the signal ended. Selara sat still, her reflection staring back at her from the dark screen. For the first time she felt something new, a small, quiet fear. Not of defeat, but of the unknown. She turned to Lord Varen. Prepare my fleet. I want every ship ready. We'll find him ourselves. My queen, Varen warned. If you face him directly, you could risk... I said prepare the fleet, she interrupted. If this human thinks he can haunt our empire, then the Queen of the Valari will show him what it means to challenge royalty. As her fleet gathered over Kareth Prime, the largest armada in Valari history began to move. Thousands of ships lit up the darkness like a second sunrise. Far away aboard the UNS Resolute, Holt received the sensor reading. His lips curved slightly. She's coming, he whispered. Lieutenant Mara looked nervous. Sir, should we retreat? No, Holt said quietly. This is what we wanted. The Queen herself. He turned toward the stars. Let her come. The real battle is about to begin. That night, across the galaxy, the name Adrian Holt spread from system to system. On Valari ships, officers whispered it in fear. Among humans, it was spoken with respect. The name carried weight, not because of power, but because it stood for something greater. A reminder that even in a galaxy ruled by ancient empires, one determined human could still change everything. And as both fleets prepared for the coming clash, two leaders, one alien queen and one human soldier, were about to meet again. Neither of them knew that their encounter would alter the future of two civilizations forever. The stars stretched thin at the edge of the void, a dark region of space where even light moved slowly. Old maps called it a graveyard of ships. No one traveled there, not traders, not explorers, not soldiers. The space around it twisted compasses, bent signals, and swallowed fleets whole. But now, two mighty forces were heading there. The Valari Queen Selara had brought her grand armada, 5,000 warships, their silver hulls shining against the endless dark, the largest fleet her empire had ever sent to one place. Each ship carried the symbol of the crown, glowing with pride and power. Facing her from across the void was a much smaller formation, less than 20 human ships, led by one vessel, the UNS Resolute. At the heart of that ship stood Commander Adrian Holt, calm as ever. The rest of his officers watched the approaching Valari fleet with wide eyes. The scanners filled with dots, red for enemy ships, spreading like a sea of blood across the display. Lieutenant Mara turned to Holt. Sir, there's no way out. They've surrounded the system. Holt studied the display for a long moment. His expression didn't change. Good, he said finally. That saves us the trouble of chasing them. The crew stared in disbelief. Sir? Mara asked. Holt looked up. We hold position. Activate the Aegis systems. Prepare for engagement. The lieutenant hesitated but obeyed. Around the Resolute, hundreds of small machines unfolded from hidden bays, tiny drones invisible to sensors. They formed a faint shimmer across the ship's hull, like a mirage in space. On the Valari flagship Empyrean, Queen Selara stood before the command deck window. Her golden armor reflected the light of a distant star. The sight before her was almost beautiful, a single human ship standing defiant before her endless fleet. Her chief advisor, Lord Varen, stood beside her. Majesty, the enemy has no escape. Shall we open fire? Selara raised her hand slowly. No, not yet. She wanted to see him. Open a communication link, she ordered. Moments later, a calm human voice came through the speakers. This is Commander Adrian Holt of the United Nations Fleet. Selara's lips curved slightly. So the ghost finally speaks. Holt's tone was polite, almost gentle. Your Majesty, you shouldn't have come here. Her eyes narrowed. You are surrounded, human. The war ends today. For a heartbeat, the channel was silent. Then Holt's voice came again, quiet but sharp. No, it begins. The words hit like thunder. At that same moment, dozens of Volari ships fired their weapons. Beams of blue plasma and streaks of burning energy cut through space, but none struck true. Instead, the shots passed through ghost images of the human ships, exploding into nothing. What is this? Admiral Corrin shouted. Our sensors show hundreds of human vessels. It's a trick, another officer cried. Our readings are false. Solara frowned. He's distorting space around his ships. They're creating reflections. She clenched her hand. Adjust targeting. Fire on the real ones. But the humans were moving faster than the sensors could track. Every time the Volari fleet turned its weapons, new phantoms appeared, holograms and signal echoes produced by Project Aegis, a human invention that bent light and energy fields. Inside the Resolute, Holt gave his next order. Fire pattern Delta 9. Strike only when they reveal their real positions. Human weapons flared to life, kinetic slugs, railguns, and plasma bursts, all aimed with surgical precision. Volari cruisers exploded like fireworks one after another. In less than 15 minutes, the Dominion's largest fleet began to fall apart. On the Empyrean, Queen Solara tried to stay calm, but her command deck shook from a near miss. Sparks flew across the consoles. Stabilize power, she commanded. Her officers obeyed, but panic spread. No one could find the human ships. It was as if the humans were fighting from inside the shadows. Admiral, regroup our forces, she said sharply. Form a sphere around the flagship. Yes, Majesty. The fleet moved to protect her, but it was already too late. One by one, their lines broke under precise human fire. Then suddenly, everything went quiet. The human ships stopped firing. Solara frowned. Why did they stop? Before anyone could answer, a small transmission came through. The image of Commander Holt appeared on the screen, his face calm, unreadable. Your Majesty, he said, you've seen what happens when we fight. There's no need for more death. Withdraw your forces. Solara stared at him. You dare command me? I'm giving you a choice, Holt replied softly. Leave now and I will not pursue. Stay, and I'll end this here. Her pride burned at his words. No one had ever spoken to her like that. But even she could feel the truth in his tone. He wasn't threatening. He was warning. She took a long breath. Admiral, she said quietly, signal the fleet. Fall back. The entire command deck froze. My queen? Farron whispered. You heard me, she said firmly. Retreat. It was the first time in her long reign that she had spoken that word. As the Volari fleet began to withdraw, Holt gave a single nod. Cease fire. Let them go. His officers looked surprised. Sir, we can finish them. Holt's voice was calm. No, we've already made our point. Lieutenant Mara turned to him. You could have destroyed their flagship. Why didn't you? Because, he said quietly, mercy can break an empire faster than fear. Back on the Empyrean, Queen Solara watched through the viewport as the human fleet faded into the shadows of the void. She felt anger, yes, but also something deeper, something unfamiliar. Holt had shown her mercy, though he had every reason not to. It made her question everything she believed about humanity. Her advisor broke the silence. Majesty, we survived. Shall we regroup and counterattack? Solara didn't answer right away. Her golden eyes stared into the distance where the humans had vanished. Finally, she said, No. Return to Careth Prime. As the Empyrean turned away from the edge of the void, the Queen's thoughts lingered on that one name, Adrian Holt. She had faced many enemies in her life. Some fought for glory, others for power, but this human fought for something else, something she could not understand yet. When she closed her eyes that night, she could still hear his voice. Remember this, Mercy. Back aboard the UNS Resolute, Holt stood alone in the observation chamber. The stars drifted slowly outside the glass. His reflection looked tired, but his eyes were sharp. Lieutenant Mara approached quietly. Sir, the Dominion fleet is retreating. We've won. Holt didn't move. We've survived. That's not the same, she frowned. You spared them. Why? He looked down. Because I've seen what happens when mercy dies. And I've seen what happens when pride rules. Mara tilted her head. Do you think she'll come after us again? Oh yes, Holt said softly. But next time it won't just be about war. She'll want to understand. He looked out at the dark edge of the universe where the Valari ships had disappeared, and that's when everything will change. On Kareth Prime, Queen Solara returned to her throne room in silence. Her people celebrated her victory, believing the humans had been driven away. But she knew the truth. She dismissed her guards and stood alone before the great window overlooking the stars. The reflection of her crown shimmered faintly in the glass. "Adrian Holt," she whispered to the empty room. "What are you?" She did not realize that even in her question lay the beginning of something greater than war. Something that would connect two enemies bound by duty, courage, and the weight of countless lives. And far away, as the last echoes of the battle faded into the endless night, the galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting for what would come next. The throne chamber of the Valari Dominion was cold and silent. Only the low hum of the energy pillars broke the stillness. Queen Solara sat alone, her eyes fixed on the glowing data streams floating before her. Each line of text spoke of one name, Adrian Holt. For weeks she had searched, demanding her spies and scholars dig into every human record, every military file, every whisper from the stars. She wanted to know who this man truly was, the one who had outsmarted her entire fleet, the one who had looked death in the eye and showed mercy instead. Her ministers had tried to stop her. "Your Majesty, he is only a soldier," they said. "You should not waste time on one man." But Solara had seen something that none of them had: fear. Her people, her warriors, her admirals all spoke his name with quiet dread. Even her most loyal captain avoided saying it aloud, so she continued her search. Now, as she stared at the newest report, her chest felt heavy. The truth was beginning to take form, and it was far darker than she expected. The first file showed a young human officer, barely 20. His face was calm, his eyes bright with determination. Adrian Holt, it read, born on Titan Colony, United Earth Defense Force. His early career showed nothing special, just another officer assigned to a remote research base. But then came the part that made Solara stop reading for a long moment. Titan Massacre, year 2391. A single Valari strike fleet, acting under Dominion orders, had destroyed the Titan colony to stop human expansion in the outer systems. Over 30,000 humans had perished. Among them, Holt's parents, his brother, his entire settlement. Solara's claws tightened against the throne's edge. She remembered that attack. She had approved it. The file continued. Holt had been one of the few survivors found weeks later inside a collapsed bunker. After his recovery, he joined a secret Earth program known as Project Revenant. Solara leaned closer. "Project Revenant," she whispered. The project, according to the fragments recovered, was designed to create link commanders, humans who could merge their thoughts with ship AIs, controlling entire fleets through mental synchronization. It was an attempt to close the gap between human intuition and machine calculation. But the program had failed. The neural link process had caused immense pain and mental collapse in most test subjects, all except one, Adrian Holt. He had not only survived the process but had mastered it. His connection with machines became almost instinctive. The system allowed him to control battle strategies faster than any computer, adapt in real time, and anticipate enemy moves before they happened. But there was another note, written by an Earth scientist before the project was shut down. Subject Holt displays unusual behavior. He follows orders but avoids personal contact. His loyalty to humanity remains absolute, but his emotions appear distant. We suspect long-term trauma after the Titan event. Solara sat back in silence. Her mind began to connect everything. The strange tactics, the cold precision, the refusal to kill her when he had the chance. Holt was not fighting for conquest or revenge. He was fighting to stop others from suffering what he had suffered. Her heart ached, though she did not understand why. A light beep interrupted her thoughts. One of her aides entered, kneeling low. "Your Majesty, our long-range probes have detected human activity near the outer colonies. They are moving closer to the Dominion core." Solara's eyes narrowed. "Is it him?" The aide nodded slowly. "Yes, Your Majesty. The flagship's signature matches the UNS Resolute." For a long moment the Queen said nothing. She rose from the throne and walked toward the wide window overlooking the capital city. The light of twin suns reflected off the silver towers. Her people below went about their lives unaware of the storm approaching. "Holt is coming," she whispered. Her council gathered quickly after that, the war chamber filled with the sounds of panic and strategy. "We must move the fleet back to defend the home system," shouted Admiral Veron. "No!" barked another general. "We should attack first. Crush his ships before he reaches us." Selara raised her hand. "Enough." The room fell silent. She stood tall, her silver armor glinting under the room's light. "Every time we face him with numbers, we lose. Every time we try to outsmart him, he sees us coming. Tell me, how many lives must be thrown away before you all realize we are fighting someone beyond our understanding?" The generals looked down, silent and ashamed. She turned toward her science minister. "You have studied human minds. Tell me what drives this man?" The old scientist hesitated. "Revenge, perhaps, but also sorrow. Our intelligence suggests he lost his family because of us. If that is true, Your Majesty, he may not stop until this empire falls." Silara's expression softened, though her voice remained steady. "And yet he spared me." That made the council murmur in confusion. She continued. "He had me cornered, my flagship burning, my fleet destroyed. He could have ended my life in this war, but he did not. Instead, he said, 'Remember this mercy.' Why? No human commander would do such a thing unless he still believes peace is possible," said the scientist softly. The queen nodded. "Yes." She looked around at her council. "Prepare the defenses around the capital, but do not attack first. If he wishes to speak, I will listen." The council was shocked. "Your Majesty." "You cannot—" "I can," she interrupted sharply. "And I will." The meeting ended in tense silence. As the council members departed, Selara remained behind. She opened the data files once more, scrolling through old records of Titan colony, the same colony she had ordered destroyed. The images showed humans smiling, children playing under a blue sky, and a young boy holding his parents' hands. His name tag read Adrian Holt. Selara closed her eyes. For the first time in her reign, she felt shame. Later that night, she stood on the balcony of her palace, staring into the stars. Somewhere out there, Holt was coming. A man turned into a legend, a human who had defied every expectation of what her people believed about humanity. She remembered her tutor's words long ago. "Be careful, my queen. Fear and respect are two sides of the same blade." And she finally understood. The next morning, she ordered her ship prepared. She would meet Holt herself, not as an enemy, but as a ruler seeking truth. Her guards protested, but she silenced them with one command. "If I do not face him, none of us will survive what follows." As the Empyrean rose through the clouds and into orbit, the queen felt a strange calm. The fear she once had was gone. Only curiosity remained. When her ship reached the outer defense line, her sensors detected movement. Human ships, dozens of them, arranged in perfect formation. At their center was the Resolute. Her heart beat faster. This was it, the final meeting. The communication screen lit up, showing a brief message. "Your Majesty, I am coming to end this war." Selara took a deep breath and whispered, "Then come, Adrian Holt. Let us see what kind of human you truly are." The stars around her seemed to tremble as the two fleets drifted closer, like chess pieces moving toward their last stand. And though her hands were steady, her mind whispered a single truth she could not deny. She had unleashed a ghost she could never control. The story of Adrian Holt, the human soldier who had become a legend, was far from over. Next would come the meeting that would decide the fate of two civilizations. The stars of the Kareth Prime system shone brightly as the Empyrean drifted into position. Queen Selara Valari stood tall on the bridge of her flagship, her golden armor glinting under the light of distant suns. She was calm, but inside her mind raced with questions. The human fleet had entered her space without permission. They had destroyed her ships, challenged her authority, and then, most unexpectedly, spared her life. And all of it had been orchestrated by one man, Commander Adrian Holt. "Majesty," her advisor Lord Varen said cautiously, "they're requesting a parley. The Resolute is approaching the central platform. It appears Holt wants to speak directly." Selara's golden eyes narrowed. "Prepare the meeting chamber. I will meet him personally. All defenses remain on standby. No attacks." Her council exchanged nervous glances. Meeting a human commander face to face after such a war was unheard of. But Solara knew it was necessary. Aboard the UNS Resolute, Holt stood quietly observing the immense Valari flagship. Unlike the Valari, the humans were smaller. Their fleet modest, yet every ship held precision and intent. Lieutenant Mara, beside him, whispered, "Sir, do you really trust the Queen to keep the peace during this meeting?" Holt's gray eyes were calm. "Trust is irrelevant. Respect is earned, and she will see the truth if I speak plainly." Mara glanced at him uncertain. Holt always carried an aura of confidence that seemed almost unreal. He wasn't just a soldier. He was the strategist, the tactician, and the ghost who had haunted the Valari fleets for months. "Prepare docking protocols," Holt continued. "We will meet on neutral ground. No weapons, no tricks, only truth." The meeting chamber aboard the Empyrean was vast and elegant, lined with glowing crystal panels and silver walls. It was designed to impress and intimidate, yet as Solara entered, she noticed how starkly different it was from the human ship she had observed from afar. Functional, precise, yet somehow alive. At the center of the chamber, a platform hovered silently, its surface polished to reflect the faint light of the stars outside. One figure waited there. Holt stepped forward as she approached. The two leaders regarded each other silently. For the first time, Solara felt a hesitation she had never known. The man before her was human, small compared to her own towering presence. Yet he radiated something undeniable: strength, intelligence, and an unshakable calm. "Queen Solara Valari," Holt said, bowing slightly. "Thank you for agreeing to this meeting." Solara inclined her head, her eyes fixed on him. "Commander Holt, you have caused significant damage to my fleets. Yet here you stand unscathed," Holt nodded. "I could have destroyed your flagship, killed you, and ended this war today. But that was not the mission. My goal has never been conquest, Your Majesty, only understanding." Solara's expression tightened. "Understanding? You destroyed my fleets. You invaded my space. Thousands of my people. They were not my target." Holt interrupted gently. "I came to show you what happens when pride blinds a ruler. You must see your empire as it truly is. Weakness is not in your ships or soldiers. It is in your belief that no one can challenge you." Solara's chest rose sharply. She had never been spoken to this way, not by generals, diplomats, or even her own kin. And yet the words struck her with truth. She remembered the Titan colony, the countless battles, the humans she had dismissed as inferior. "You speak boldly," she said, her voice low. "Do you know what I am? Do you know what I can do?" Holt met her gaze evenly. "I know you are a queen. I know you have ruled with wisdom and strength. And I know that one person's courage can change the fate of thousands." Solara's golden eyes widened slightly. She was speechless. Few had ever looked at her with such clarity, such calmness. "You spared me," she said quietly. "When you had the chance, you did not strike." "Because mercy has power," Holt replied. "I could destroy empires with ease, Your Majesty. But destruction does not teach. Survival does. Respect, understanding, and restraint. These are the tools that last through centuries, not fleets of warships." Solara stepped closer. "And yet your people whisper that you are a ghost, that your name brings fear across the stars." Holt's expression softened. "A ghost is only remembered because it cannot be touched. I am not a ghost. I am a man. I have fought, I have survived, and I have learned. That is all." For the first time, Solara felt the weight of her own decisions. The countless wars, the orders given in cold calculation, they had created this one man, a human who could challenge even a queen with courage and mercy. "You speak as if you understand me," she said slowly. "I do," Holt said simply. "I have seen what happens when rulers fight out of pride, not purpose. I have seen the pain left behind. I do not wish to see more." A silence fell between them, heavy and profound. Outside the chamber, the stars gleamed coldly, but inside, a fragile understanding began to form. "You are remarkable," Solara said quietly. "Not just a soldier, not just a commander. You have looked at death and chosen restraint. That is something my people cannot comprehend." Holt inclined his head. "And you are remarkable, Your Majesty. You could have destroyed me in an instant, but you chose to listen, to seek truth. That choice shows the strength of your reign." For a long moment, they simply regarded each other. Neither needed to speak. The tension, the history, the battles. It all hung in the air, yet somehow it was not heavy. Finally, Selara spoke. You have forced me to see humanity in a way I never believed possible. Your name, Adrian Holt. It will be remembered not as a threat but as a lesson. Holt's eyes softened. And your name, Queen Selara, will be remembered not as a ruler who fell to pride, but as one who dared to learn. The two stood silently, worlds apart and yet connected by a single truth. Understanding was stronger than war, and courage often came from mercy. Outside, the fleets maintained their positions, the tension still palpable. Both sides waited, expecting the other to make the first move. But inside that chamber, the impossible had happened. Two leaders, one alien, one human, had found the one thing neither could manufacture through power alone: trust. Selara finally turned toward the viewport. She looked at the distant human fleet, shining softly against the void. She nodded once. Return to your ship, she said. Go home, Commander Holt. Humanity is free to live, and so is my empire. Holt gave a small bow. As you wish, Your Majesty. And with that, the Resolute and its accompanying fleet turned and slowly departed, leaving the Volari Dominion intact but forever changed. Back in her private chamber, Selara stood alone before the stars. Her mind replayed every word Holt had spoken. His calm, his clarity, his courage, it lingered in her thoughts. For the first time in centuries, she had been speechless, not from fear, but from awe. Adrian Holt, she whispered, you have shown me something I could never have learned from 1,000 victories. In the distance, the faint glow of the human ships disappeared beyond the edges of Careth Prime's orbit, but their presence would never be forgotten. Holt had proven that even a single human could challenge an empire, not with force alone, but with intellect, courage, and mercy. Selara allowed herself a small, almost imperceptible smile. The war was over, but the lesson remained. Humanity was not weak, not primitive, and certainly not to be underestimated. One man had reminded her of that truth, and in the quiet of the chamber, the Queen made a vow, not of revenge, not of conquest, but of respect for the courage that had faced her. A human who had forced even a queen to pause and reconsider everything she believed about power, strength, and honor. For the first time in her long reign, Selara Volari felt truly moved by a human. The legend of Adrian Holt would echo throughout the galaxy, not as a destroyer, but as a soldier who had changed the hearts of even the most powerful alien rulers. And the alien queen, who had once believed she ruled all, found herself speechless, realizing that the galaxy had just witnessed something greater than war. The story was over, but the legacy of a human soldier and the respect he earned from a queen would endure forever.